What was your take on that particular trade and this idea that you trade within the division?
I want good players. That's why we trade for players like Braylon Edwards. Big, strong, tough, physical, and productive players. That's what we want.
Quit telling me you're close.
What do you want him to say?
I don't know.
Okay, then what do you want, man?
I don't want him to say they're close.
Then don't talk to us then.
Let's bring him in. Mike Tannenbaum is an ESPN NFL insider, former Jets general manager, and former executive vice president of the Miami Dolphins on Twitter at Real Tannenbaum. Mike, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing really good, Mike T. This has become something like the New York Jets Midwest. You know, we had Damian Woody a couple weeks ago. Mark was on Tuesday, and here we are with Mike T on Thursday. So this is Jets Midwest now.
We're taking advantage of all Braylon's former teammates and everything like that. Hey, Mike, I wanted to hit you right out of the gate with something that happened here locally this week, and that's T.J. Hawkinson traded away, a former first-round pick of the Lions, 8 overall, goes within the division. What was your take on that particular trade and this idea that you trade within the division?
Yeah, I didn't like it for the Lions. I like T.J. Hawkinson. I want good players. That's why we trade for players like Braylon Edwards. Big, strong, tough, physical, and productive players. That's what we want. And T.J. Hawkinson is somebody that's a good blocker as a tight end, guys. He can capture the edge. He's good after the catch. He has good hands. I'm hard-pressed to think how the Detroit Lions are a better football team without T.J. Hawkinson. You know, you could have the picks. I'll take the player.
Hey, let's stay with the Detroit Lions before we get to the other guys that made moves and didn't make moves in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. What have you seen from them this year? Obviously, Dan Campbell coming off the 3-13-1. This just seemed like a year that they would take another step. Not 10 wins, but they would take a step to 8 wins and maybe get ready for 2023 draft. But it just hasn't worked for the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell. What have you seen, Mike, from afar?
Yeah, Braylon, I agree. I'm a big fan of Dan and Aaron Glenn, two guys I've had a chance to work with in my career, one at the Jets, one at the Dolphins. I thought it would be better. You know, offensively, they're showing really good progress with Ben Johnson, a young coordinator. I think Jared Goff has played well at times. They've shown some abilities to be explosive, and that's without Jameson Williams. So I think offensively there are some answers, but I'll tell you what, defensively, you know, like you have to be able to do something well, like against Miami. Like you either got to rush Tua or play coverage. It just seems like they could never get into any sort of rhythm there where they couldn't take anything away, guys, where it seemed like Tua had all sorts of time, and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill were able to get open. So I think there's a lot of work they need to do from a personnel standpoint on defense. And again, I think Aaron Glenn has a great future in this league, a bright future, but this defense is certainly struggling right now.
Hey, Mike, obviously coaches are required to talk to the media weekly, but one of the things that Dan Campbell keeps saying is we're close. We're 1 or 2 plays away from winning these games. I don't know what else he can say, but for a fan base that has one playoff win since 1957, what separates these teams that have all these one-possession losses and they never can win them? What is the difference there in games like that?
Oftentimes it's a lot of little things, and you know, I do believe in the axiom that you got to pass to score and run to win, and that's where hopefully someone like DeAndre Swift can like stay healthy and help finish games. And look, if your defense is struggling, guys, like Detroit's was, especially the other day, that's when you got to slow the game down and say, you know what, I'm going to only give them 3 or 4 possessions in the second half. And I'm going to go on long, sustained drives on offense, and I'm trying to play almost keep away. So I think that's where Dan Campbell has to be the strategist more than just a head coach and say to Ben Johnson, hey, Ben, look, you got to run the ball here more just because we can't give the ball back because it creates such small margins for error when you're on offense, knowing that you have to score every time. So hopefully that's something they can do, but they got to make plays on third down, especially on defense, and get off the field.
Hey, Mike, another one on the Lions. What's your take from the outside looking in? Last year, Anthony Lynn, they let him go. He was the offensive coordinator. This year, just a couple of days ago, Aubrey Pleasant, defensive backs coach, was let go. And we heard from Aaron Glenn today, and it was a good friend of his. He brought him in, and he feels bad. Some of the players feel bad that this happened to him. We had the owner, Sheila Hamp, last week say, listen, I believe in this group of men that I brought in here to lead us. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. Lion fans, you have to have patience. I mean, You're on the outside looking in here in Detroit, national guy. What's your take on the Detroit Lions right now going forward?
Yeah, at some point it can't be about progress. It can't be about draft choice. It can't be about cap room. It has to be about wins and losses. And we've seen some other first-year head coaches, in the same division, Kevin O'Connell, Brian Daboll, Mike McDaniel, where they've come in and made consequential improvement right away. And it's starting to get late. Like, they have to start stringing some wins together. And again, I think that's where, and Dan, I really believe in him. He was our interim coach in Miami. There's a lot of things I like about him. He has to figure out, how do we win this game? We're playing the Miami Dolphins. They got those two explosive receivers. We can't hold up with them. We're going to either, try to press them off the line of scrimmage. We're going to double cover Tyreek Hill in pregame, in warm-ups, during the game, after the game. Have a mindset of, what are we going to take away from the opposition? Or, you know what? We're going to come out in 3 tight ends. We're going to go 7 offensive linemen. We're going to go jumbo packages. And guess what? We're going to run the ball every single time. And this game is going to be played in an hour and 15 minutes. There has to be some sort of, creative solutions, because when you're outmanned, and you're going to struggle with Miami's offense, that's what you need to do. And that's how we saw a number of years ago the Wildcat sort of was born in the NFL. We're seeing Philadelphia become a great run team. There's other ways you can win the games while you're rebuilding, but at some point those wins have to show up on the scoreboard.
Mike T, you talked about the Dolphins. You talked about teams that are winning now, being aggressive. Let's talk about 2 teams and talk about this new concept. Nick Sirianni, Mike McDaniel. They get Jalen, they get Tua, as opposed to try to talk about what these guys aren't. It was supposed to talk about what these guys can do. They've met these guys right where they are and provided talent around them to have success. Just talk about that new concept what Nick Sirianni has done with Jalen Hurts, and then talk about with Tua and Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I think what I like about Jalen Hurts is the one area he had to get better, Braylon, was downfield accuracy, 20 yards or more. They go out and they get A.J. Brown, 3 touchdowns the other day against Pittsburgh, and that's showing up more and more just in terms of downfield accuracy with a really good running game. Miles Sanders, really good offensive line. And then I think what Mike McDaniel's given to it is confidence. They went out, got another receiver in Tyreek Hill, who's obviously explosive. And when healthy, Tua's played very well. Now, the big question for them is, that offensive line has had some injuries, and Eichenberg just got hurt. Taron Armstead's been in and out of the lineup. Can Tua make it through the rest of the season? That's going to be the big question. If he can, he's played very well. So both those teams should have a chance to play meaningful games coming down the stretch here.
Want to throw this to you right now. A lot of big moves made this week before the free agent deadline. One of the biggest weeks, if not the biggest weeks ever for free agency deadline. What move do you think is the one that put that team over the hump, or they put that team where they were looking to get to? Which move? I won't even say a name. Leave that on you.
Roquan Smith. We talked about T.J. Hawkinson earlier, guys. I want Roquan Smith. You could have the draft choices. I want a guy that could run and cover, and he's physical and he's fast. If I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I just got a really good player. It takes some of the pressure off of Patrick Queen, another linebacker that they drafted recently, and I think Roquan Smith is going to be a really good player for the Ravens.
Hey, Mike, in the AFC, it just seems like everybody's picking the Bills and the Chiefs. Where does Baltimore and even Miami, with the addition of Bradley Chubb, where do they fall in here?
Well, what's interesting is I think Baltimore could be eliminated in the first round or be in the Super Bowl. Any game Lamar Jackson could just take it over, both with his arm and his legs. Likewise, I think Miami, look, I don't know if they can score and compete with Kansas City and Buffalo, but they got better with Bradley Chubb.
Man's got.
They should have a real chance of making the playoffs here, but I think it's Kansas City and Buffalo, and then draw a line in the AFC.
All right, Mike, great stuff, man. Can't thank you enough. Know you're really busy, and we certainly appreciate your time here with us.
Hey, anytime Braylon Edwards asks me a question, it's hard to say no to him.
You're the best. Speaking of that real quick, how's your daughter enjoying that first year up there at U of M? 8-0 is not bad, man, for year one.
Yeah, she's having a great time, Braylon, and she hasn't seen a Michigan loss, so hopefully that keeps rolling.
Amen to that.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. Mike Tannenbaum,
Mike T,
thanks so much.
I appreciate you as always. Thanks a lot, Mike T.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Take care. Thank
You
you.
got
Bye,
it.
Mike.
You got it. Mike Tannenbaum on Twitter at Real Tannenbaum. And of course, you can see him on ESPN, NFL coverage, Get Up, and everything like that. But, one of the things that he was talking about, Braylon, that
It got you excited. I saw you.
It gets me excited is at some point it cannot be about progress.
Yeah.
It has to be about wins and losses. In the National Football League, in professional sports, you are what your record says you are. I've said it a million times, and it's so frustrating because I know these guys have to talk to the media. I know they have to come to the podium. I know they have to answer questions. But quit telling me you're close.
What do you want him to say?
I don't know.
Okay, then what do you
I don't
want,
know.
man?
I don't want them to say they're close.
Then don't talk to us then. They have to talk to us. I've told you that. It's coach speak. It is what it is.
I hate it.
Well, come on, man.
I hate it. Don't tell me you're close. You're the worst team in the league.
Did you hear what he said? He believes in Dan Campbell.
He does.
That makes me feel good.
He also said at some point in time, it's
can't
about
be
winning
about
and losing.
progress.
Okay.
Don't take
I
part
got
of the
it.
quote.
Yeah.
I got it.
Don't take part of the quote.
And don't complain about what he said.
And again, I know we're over here, but think about this for a second. What did he always say? It's got to be about the player instead of the picks. At some point, I want the player. You take the picks.
Well,
Give me Roquan Smith. You have those picks.
Well, he liked Hawkinson.
Give me T.J. Hawkinson. You have those picks.
Our guys didn't like Hawkinson.
He said he would have kept Tigers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's one man.
That's what I'm saying. He always will take the player over the picks.
Our guys
Incredible.
obviously didn't believe in Hawkinson. You heard them.
Clearly.
They were like, when he's not here, now other players are going to get more action.
James
St. Brown,
Mitchell, baby.
Khalil, up and down. James Mitchell's going to get his chance.
Yep.
They didn't believe in Hawk.
It's not necessarily just them. What happens is whenever you come in as a new regime, you never believe in the people that were there before you. Like, let's just call it what it is. When you come in as a new coach, guys that you didn't draft, guys that you didn't personally handpick, guys who film that you didn't break down and say, this guy is going to be a great fit for what we're trying to do here. This guy is going to be the perfect fit for what we're trying to accomplish. This is who we are. That player fits that mold. When you don't draft those guys and when you don't pick those guys, you're looking for any reason to get rid of guys that were already there. T.J. Hawkins is a guy that they didn't pick. They picked. In their mind, he's picked too high. He will account for too much money in this upcoming off draft. So I think that's more so along the lines of what it is too. I've seen Pete Carroll do it. Get rid of guys that were there before he was there. You name it, you go down the list. Guys that did not pick you, did not draft you, did not bring you in free agency. You're not that guy. They clean house and they get rid of all.
Swift's next.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, he can't stay on the field.